What is up, Commanders fans? We're back, and we got our guy. Eric Bieniemy is the new assistant head coach, offensive coordinator. I'm excited for it. My man B. Murph all the way down in ATL. I think he's a little bit excited as well. Brian, how you doing?
That's right. Yeah, we didn't record it on Thursday because I was too busy running through a wall for my new coach. I was so pumped up. I had to take a day to celebrate. So I'm excited to finally talk about it. We'll get into it. I didn't think this was going to happen, a month ago or however long we heard the first rumors. And now that it's come to fruition, man, I'm so pumped and can't wait to talk about it and can't wait to see what happens on the field.
Yes, indeed. I know that there were some players in attendance, and they seem to be excited seeing some of those videos go through. I mean, Terry McLaurin was there. He had a good conversation with him that was caught on video. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out. I think it's on the Commanders' Instagram page. That's where I saw it. But before we get to going, let's quickly talk about our sponsor. We have the great Bet Online. Brian, tell them all about Bet Online.
That's right. Bet Online remains your number one source for all your sports betting needs. Interesting to see if the Commanders' odds maybe move a little bit with the hiring of Eric Bieniemy, but we'll see about that. But you can bet for everything NHL, NBA, MLB is right around the corner, even esports. BetOnline is your place to go. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, game trends, futures, prop bets, all that good stuff. It features live betting, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. We're the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite leagues and events. So head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use our promo code BLEAV to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV, BetOnline, where the game starts.
Yes, indeed. BetOnline. They also have XFL stuff on there. XFL kicked off. It kicked off this past weekend. I didn't get to catch any of the games. I got to see some of the highlights. They have some pretty cool rules that they have implemented in there that apparently a lot of people are looking forward to that maybe making its way into the NFL. I know kickoffs, for example, they're almost just basically punts, and they have each team has their guys lined up 5 yards apart from each other, and the kicking team can't take off until the guy catches the ball. So you still get the return aspect, but there's not as many high impact collisions, which I think is good. It's a good play.
Smart. Yeah.
Yeah, and they also had a little live look into the replay room whenever a replay happens. So rather than it being just watching somebody go and look into a little tent, you're getting to hear from Dean Blandino, who used to be with the NFL, kind of break down the ruling. So I don't think the NFL wants that type of transparency, but I do think that it is a good look, and that sounds like something that's pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was probably my favorite rule change was that there is some accountability there. You hear what they're discussing, so it's not some mystery when you come back from a commercial and they move the ball and decided something. You actually kind of hear it. But you're right. I don't know if the NFL wants to kind of let you know how the sausage is made so much. So that'll be interesting to see. But there were some cool tweaks, and I didn't catch a full game, but I saw some highlights. And man, I'm all for more football. So good stuff. It seems like a good start for the XFL.
Yes, indeed. And the one rule that kind of piques my interest. Kickers may not like it so much, but you can, instead of an onside kick, the team gets to go for it on 4th and 15. They get to make it a 4th and 15, and then they get to convert that way.
And I think I saw that it's in the final 2 minutes maybe or something like that. So I don't know if it's all the time, but I thought that was kind of cool and a chance that, onside kicks rarely ever work. So something a little more exciting, a little more likely to happen. I'm always for that too.
Yeah. So you get to have a little bit more offense. So you get to have a little bit of creativity. Dig deep in your bag. What do I got for 4th and 15? There's something in there. But hey, that's pretty exciting. So you never know. Maybe that stuff will make its way to the league. But let's talk about the news. The biggest news, the biggest hire, the news that everybody's been waiting for and hoping for, had their fingers crossed for. Eric Bieniemy is in as the assistant head coach and offensive coordinator for the Commanders. First, just your first reaction when you heard the news, Brian. What'd you have?
I think I kind of gave away my first reaction there. I was just so excited. But like I said, I wasn't sure that this was going to happen. I wasn't sure that, that this was a realistic possibility. When his name got brought up, I was like, man, that is a pipe dream. There's no way that happens, right? And then it just kind of felt like there was more and more smoke, and when there's smoke, there's fire. And then all of a sudden he's in the building, he's doing his opening press conference, and there he is. So I'm really excited about it. I think that it's one of the better offensive minds they've had in there in a long time. His track record speaks for itself. The press conference was a win all the way. I'm just pumped. I can't say more than that. I know that you have to win games, you have to go produce results, but right now, after watching the press conference, after seeing him introduced, I am so pumped.
Yes, I'm with you on that one. I was excited once they said he was in the building, and then they had said he stayed and he's staying another day, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is happening. Like, they're not going to let this guy get out of Ashburn, Virginia. He's not going to leave flying out of Dulles or wherever they're sending him out of. He's going to be on that staff, and frankly, I think that the players are excited. I think the majority of the Commanders Nation are pretty excited, and kind of talking to how you didn't think it would happen. I feel like a lot of Commanders fans probably didn't think they could have anything nice like that.
Right.
You kind of, yeah. I mean, it's naturally, frankly, it's been a little bit more negative. Negative news is always stirred around the organization. And now you get to have something nice, man. You get to have a coach step in there who comes in with credibility. You got 2 Super Bowl rings. People going to listen to what you got to say. Mm-hmm. I mean, regardless of who you had Patrick Mahomes at your disposal. Like, so did some other coaches that made it to head coaching gigs and getting other jobs as well, and that didn't deter him. So being able to get Eric Bieniemy brought into this offense, into this building, I think he's going to have a huge impact on the overall building, just with the excitement and the energy that he's going to be able to bring. Brings credibility from having some Super Bowl rings on his hand, and the fact that he mentioned accountability so many times in that press conference is something that is needed in that organization. It's needed with the team. And I think having guys like Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, he carries himself the right way as well. And plenty of guys over there on defense, they're going to respond properly to being held accountable and have that standard pushed up. I could speak to my first time getting into Washington. I signed on with the practice squad in 2009. I came from Miami. And back in those days, Miami had Bill Parcells was like the team president, Tony Sperano head coach. So it had that that Bill Parcells energy in the organization, where it was like, hey, you better walk the straight line or else you're going to get fired. So when I came to Washington, I was still had that mindset. I was like, hey, this is the league. I don't want to get cut. And it blew my mind how in the first meeting there were players on their cell phone, folks were walking in late, didn't really have a respect for the head coach, didn't really have much respect for that at all. And I can see that listening to Eric Bieniemy and even Coach Rivera, like, guys don't come in there playing around. And now you're going to have yourself an offensive coordinator who wants to hold you to an extremely high standard as well. That's good. Overall, that's good, and it's going to be good for this team.
Yeah, I thought it was all really impressive. I think everybody has said, and I completely agree. I don't know. I don't think you can make the excuse anymore that this guy doesn't interview well, because after that, I don't know what more you can expect from him. He just said everything right. It felt big enough that it could have been a head coaching press conference. It felt like there was that much importance, and it's just the way that he carries himself, and that's all you can ask for. And I'm with you. I'm so excited. I really think. We know he has the assistant head coach title, and I'm sure that was part of it and all of that, but it really feels like he really is going to be the head coach of the offense. And I think he's already got people's ears. He's got people's eyes. Like you said, there were players showing up. There were defensive players there. I know Cam Curl was there. I saw that Shaka Toney was there. And, I don't know how often a player shows up to a press conference. I don't know if that's typical, or you might know a little bit more than me, but I don't know that a guy from the other side of the ball would make time to show up. And that just kind of speaks volumes. And I think it's just what he's going to bring to the table. And, I've already said it a couple of times. It's going to depend on wins and losses. And he said that himself, like, this is all fine and great and exciting in February, but we want to see wins and losses, wins on the field. in the fall, but you got to feel good about where they're at right now. And like you said, there are a lot of solid players on this team that I think are going to take to that kind of coaching, and probably already have from a couple of guys. And I'm just excited for what this could hold for the Commanders.
Yes, and I mean, you come in with credibility, and one of the words that he mentioned, he's like, you got to earn the players' trust. Yeah. You got to earn the players' trust. He has to learn about these guys and learn about them. I think that's huge. What's the saying? Nobody cares what you know until they know that you care, type of a thing. And I could see that he's going to be able to sit down with different players and get to know them on a deeper level, more than football. Generally, coaches want you just to show up, catch the ball, and do your job over there. But if you're able to connect with somebody on a little bit of a personal level, like, you're going to be able to push yourself that much more. Whenever you know that he trusts you and he believes in you and he gets to know you, you're going to take that book home and study a little bit more. He mentioned about being accountable and saying it comes from his days from like wanting to make sure that he makes the block on third down so the quarterback doesn't get hit. That's huge. It's not just, hey, just do your job. Understand you're doing your job that's going to positively affect somebody else, positively or negatively. And understanding that responsibility across the board, it takes your thought process that much higher. And it's one thing to hear it from just any coach, but then to hear it from a guy who has 2 big shiny rings that's been at the top of where you're trying to get to, it means that much more. It means so much more from having a guy that's had some success.
Yeah, and he said, his feet are where he's at. There is. I think that was one of Ron Rivera's first things that he said, and he continued that. Like, he's like, he was asked about head coaching jobs and not getting them and that kind of thing, and he was like, look, essentially he said, look, I'm in Washington right now, I'm the offensive coordinator right now. Maybe that's a discussion for this time next year, but I truly believe that coming from him, because just the preparation that you heard about in Kansas City, the attention to detail, like you've already mentioned, even that clip with Terry McLaurin, where they had a really cool kind of candid conversation. He was like, I've got your number and I'll be texting you, but only when we can talk ball. So he's already aware of like dates, and it just seems like he's very detail oriented. I don't know what was in the folder that he had on the table at the press conference, but I have to imagine that it was some sort of details about the day, that kind of thing. He just seemed so put together and just be for this opportunity. And it should make the players, the other coaches, the organization, and fans that much more excited, because like you said, largely things have been unorganized and kind of chaotic when it comes to this team. And so hopefully this is a sign of, not just for this season, not just for the offense, but for things to come for this team, that they're finally putting the right people in place to actually have the results on the field.
Yes, indeed. 100%. 100%. He's speaking about excitement. Coach Bieniemy said he was excited. What do you think Coach Bieniemy should be most excited for?
I think that, I think it's a clean slate for him. You know what I mean? Like, he's had people say that he's coached under Andy Reid and that's an excuse, and Patrick Mahomes. And, well, he's got kind of a clean slate here. The Commanders have not been very good offensively. I mean, that's not like dogging on anybody. It's just the facts. They've not been very good offensively. And he's got the chance to put his stamp on this team and make something happen. And I think you should be excited for some of the guys that maybe haven't unlocked their full potential. I think Terry McLaurin has been so solid, but who knows what he could reach, what the limit is for him with an offensive mind like this that he hasn't played under since being in the NFL. So I think that there's a young offense here that is just kind of waiting to be tapped into. And I think that there are some unknowns that Eric Bieniemy could turn into something really special. And just that kind of whole package, I think that's worth being excited for being in DC.
I think if you go down the roster, we always use the analogy of being a chef in the kitchen and you're looking at your pantry. If he's looking at this pantry, you got to be excited that, number one, you got a top 10 receiving core in this league. Terry McLaurin, you mentioned him, been so consistent over the past 3-4 years. He's had like 12 or 13 quarterbacks throwing in the ball, but he continues to have a successful season. Jahan Dotson, he's over there tied for the league lead with rookies and touchdowns. Plus he missed 4 games. Could have easily been up there as offensive rookie of the year. Shouldn't he? If he wouldn't have gotten injured. Brian Robinson, young running back who runs angry, is going to give you some skills. Antonio Gibson over there in that running back room as well. You got to be excited for those guys. Sam Howell, you got a fresh gunslinger quarterback who knows how to throw the ball around. And frankly, he doesn't have any bad habits that have been ingrained in him by other coaches over the past, however long. So some of your major positions, you got youth, you've got some talent, and you know that you're going to be able to be creative, and they are ready to be pushed hard. They're ready to be molded into something absolutely amazing. And frankly, if you flip the script and look on the defensive side, you got to be excited for the defense that you have. It's pretty solid defense. They've shown that they can shut teams down. They've shown that they can give the offense a chance, and I think that gives you a little bit of opportunity to take a little breath on offense. That way you're like, hey, I don't have to worry about necessarily scoring 35, 40 points a game. Yeah. Like you got a little youth who's going to kind of have some growing pains. The defense is probably going to find a way to get a stop and give you the ball back. So being able to show up and have just plenty of talent to work with, that would have me excited if I'm Eric Bieniemy. Obviously, being able to prove yourself, even though, yes, I know he shouldn't have to do it, but that's the cards that have been dealt. That's the way that it is right now. And basically, it's like he goes out here and he has success. It's just like dropping a big joker on somebody and saying, you can't stop me. Right. I'm still going to find a way to be successful, but he gets to go out there and really show what he's able to do and how he can have a positive impact on a team. So all in all, he's excited for the challenge. He should be excited for the challenge. And he's got great tools at his disposal that are going to be able to make his job that much easier. But he's here for that journey, and I'm excited to see this whole team grow.
Yeah, me too. And I think he mentioned it in an interview or something. I don't think you can expect Sam Howell to be Patrick Mahomes. Nobody right now is Patrick Mahomes. But he mentioned that at one point Patrick Mahomes only had one career start too. And it seemed like he wasn't just saying that. Like he knew a little bit of the stats from Sam Howell's one start against the Cowboys, and I'm sure did a little research on him when he was a top quarterback at UNC. So just again going back to that detail, and yeah, he's got to feel excited. While I think the majority of the offense is really young, that is not a synonym in this case for immature. And we talked about how tough he's going to be on players, and we've already mentioned it now. But all those guys that you mentioned, all those young guys, I think they're gonna eat up this kind of coaching, and they're gonna love it, and it's gonna make them that much better because they're wanting to be better. I think they realized how frustrating last year was and how close they were if they could have just strung a couple of things together. And now they got a guy that can potentially make that happen. So I think it's just exciting, not just for Coach Bieniemy, but for those guys that he's going to be coaching up here in the near future.
100%. And I'm big on you keep talking about details. I'm excited for that because those are the things that really separate good teams and great teams. I mean, the team, like you think about just the Patriots, they would do this with no-name players, right? 6th round quarterback, Tom Brady. Everybody's like, oh, he's the GOAT. It's like, yeah, but he was also a 6th rounder. Okay, so let's not act like he was the top overall pick. He was picked way late in the draft. He's won with former quarterbacks like Julian Edelman moves the receiver. He had Chris Hogan, who was really a lacrosse player.
That's right.
David Patton, Deion Brandt's a good receiver back in college, but I mean, they won with the small receivers. They won with big receivers. They won with everything. It's because they have such attention to detail and they do what they're supposed to do every single time. You can't name half the players that are on the Patriots roster, but you can go over and name a lot of the other players on some other teams that don't win. And when you have these level of details, and I've said it before, it's one thing to have a coach come in and talk about details, but doesn't have a resume as thorough and as immersive as Eric Bieniemy's. I'm telling you, if I was him, first day I'd walk in with both my rings on.
That's
right. And I would say, this is what the standard is. We're trying to get one of these over here in the burgundy and gold. And I expect A, X, Y, and Z. Like, these are the things that I expect. And if we do these things, we'll find our way to getting one of these rings. Now, if you see he has his own and you've seen the recent success, you don't have no choice but to buy into that. No. Shouldn't be sitting around thinking, well, I don't know. Yeah, no. buy into it. Do all you can. Make sure you're putting in that work because it's obviously worked for him in the past, and there's no reason why it can't happen in Ashburn.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I don't think it's talk. I think we've seen so many of these press conferences where there was some like false advertising, and there was some like I don't know, just some excitement over some hoopla over something that we were not sure about. This seems like the real deal, and it seems like giving Ron Rivera credit, he took his time and he knew who he wanted. And you got to give him credit for making this happen, the front office for making this happen, being patient and actually going for it. I think we were, and maybe a lot of fans were worried that they were just going to settle for the easy hire, and they went for it. And that gets me excited. And, I think that it, again, is something worth tuning into and buying into. And I think that the team will as well. And it's going to pay off dividends, hopefully, here in the near future.
Yes, indeed. Yes, sir. You talk about buying stuff.
Yeah.
There's been some recent news that Jeff Bezos, Mr. Amazon himself, has hired an investment firm to, go into, come up with a potential offer to buy the Commanders. And there's been, rumors swirling around that he was probably going to swoop in at the last minute anyways and make an offer because he's got the money to do so. This is an investment for just a little bit of extra pocket change that he got stuffed in the couch. And there's also been word that Mr. Dan Snyder says, I ain't taking nothing less than $6 billion. Man, I tell you, that's almost, it's hard to imagine that much money. I forget what the exact statistic is between like 1 million and 1 billion, where like a million seconds is like 31 days, but then like 1 billion seconds is like many years. All right. Yep. So that's a lot of dollars that, Dan Snyder is asking for this team, but somebody's going to pay it. And it might be Mr. Jeff Bezos. So what are you thinking about that? Would you like to have Mr. Amazon Prime be the owner of the Commanders?
Yeah, I mean, to me, a guy with that much money, maybe one of the guys with the most money, he's got a lot to spend there, and it would make me excited about a new stadium. I would think that they would try to make a splash, hopefully responsibly with going after free agents and that kind of thing, because regardless of the legal side of Dan Snyder, one of his issues was kind of meddling in making bad signs and that kind of thing. So I hope that wouldn't be the case. But yeah, I think that there is something there for sure, whether it's Jeff Bezos or we've heard some tours of some potential buyers of the facilities. And whether he meant to or not, Jason Wright kind of mentioned in his little press scrum after the Eric Bieniemy press conference, he mentioned the sale. So it's not something they're tiptoeing around. It's not something that's speculated. It makes me think that it is coming sooner rather than later. To me, whether it be Jeff Bezos, whether it be Byron Allen, whether it be Josh Harris, whoever it is, and whoever has been rumored, that kind of thing, I think it's time. And I hope that some of these coaching changes are signs of things to come on the field. And I hope that some of these rumors and whispers right now are signs of things to come off the field. So, after some tumultuous years, I'll take a new owner anyway, that it'll happen. But it will be interesting to see what ends up being the final deal.
And see, it'd be nice if he give you like a free Amazon Prime to all Commanders fans or something like that. A little discount, have some little drones delivering you a little beer and popcorn in the game.
Sign me up.
Drop you in, like that'd be something. I think they say he may have to like get rid of the Washington Post to be able to come in and buy the team. But I will say this, my message to anybody that's out there looking to buy the Commanders, hold off on what you do with the ownership. Pay attention to what's going on this season, because I think that you have somebody very special in the building, in Eric Bieniemy. And if you pay attention to just how the team reacts and gels around him and accept him, I think that could help you make a decision on what you want to do in the future. And don't just jump off and, go grab some other coach, off of the heap of available coaches and just bring them in, because there's good things going on. I've said it before. Going way back to my visit in December. I came out of it saying there's good things going on in the facility, Coach Rivera has gotten this team and the culture of this team going in the right direction. I think adding Eric Bieniemy is a huge win that should uplift, where things are at in this building. I think they're moving in the right direction. So really take a good deep look to how this team reacts to Coach Bieniemy, and I think that any future changes, they may not have to look too far for it.
Yeah, and I think it's something we said during the season. Like, does Ron Rivera – I don't know. I got to give Ron Rivera credit for the Eric Bieniemy thing and making that happen. But I think he's making a case for, if he wants to, potentially having a role in this front office in one way or another. Because it's hard not to – the on-field stuff is what it is. And I think every coach has issues with that and has shortcomings. And we've seen Ron Rivera's shortcomings on the field. But there's something to be said about how guys rally around him, and you can't say that people don't want to come play for him. He's got some solid players there. You can't say people don't want to come coach for him, because he got the ear of a Super Bowl winning coach and was able to take his best assistant. So you got to give him credit too. And I'm with you. I think that today at the end of February, after these moves and that kind of thing, I'm with you. A new owner, while I thought they might need to come in and clear house, I'm not thinking that way right now. I think they're a little bit closer than maybe it seems to the outside eye.
Yes, 100%. 100%. It's things are trending upward. Things are trending upward for sure. And it's exciting times ahead. Well, exciting times ahead. Is there any other notes that you got? Maybe you got a little one-off message you want to drop on anybody?
Man,
just dropping that on you out of nowhere.
No, I really am excited for like the first mini camp for whatever the first OTA is. I just want to see. I feel like attendance is going to be really good whenever veterans have to be there. It seems like probably on offense and defense, even though Eric Bieniemy is an offensive coordinator, I'm sure he got the attention of some defensive players too. So I'm excited to see how the energy is with the players getting in there, and hopefully there's some more liveliness as they get ready, for summer and that kind of thing. So I'm just excited for the next team function, and who knows, we could be talking about, an ownership change sooner rather than later. So, any news that comes up, I'm hoping is good news, and we'll see what it is.
I'm with you on that one. I know my last little bit is that right now, we have to put the conversation about race being the biggest issue of why Eric Bieniemy is not a head coach. We have to set that off to the side for this time being. Mm-hmm. If we continue to bring it up, we already know that is got to be the only other reason as to why the guy doesn't get a head coaching gig. Yeah, but, he's done more than anybody has ever. He's got 2 Super Bowls. He's been to 5 straight AFC Championship games, 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls. He's had success. He's been able to work under Andy Reid and learn from him. 10 years, got all types of knowledge from over there. Let's see this man go into this new position and have some success. Let him go over here and do his thing and try not to bring up the old news of why aren't you a head coach? Scrap that. That's old DC media. That's old, let's stir up some negativity so we can get some clickbait. You don't need that. Let's focus on the positive. Focus on this man showing up in here, having a positive impact on this team and on this offense. The results will come, and then you handle everything else down the line. His feet are where they are, like he said. He's focused on being the best offensive coordinator and the assistant head coach for the Washington Commanders. Everything else will take care of itself. If you got an issue with why he's not a head coach, you got to go talk to somebody else. Because right now he's here to do one job and one job alone. Let's get some W's and make this offense explosive.
Let's do it. I love it. And I'm with you. Yeah. Don't bring up negativity just to bring up negativity. Unless you're bringing a solution, just leave it off to the side and let this man work and let him show, it's no fluke that he's here in a good spot. And
100%.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Because if anything, yes, we all know that he should be a head coach, somebody's head coach. But now you kind of get the benefit from having a head coach quality coach on your staff. You know what I'm saying? It's just like if you go in this, you see the old commercial where this old lady was trying to sell a car she had. She's like, it's just out in the barn and it's a freaking Ferrari. And she's ready to let it go for like $200. And you thought it was going to be a jalopy.
Yep.
Like, you got a really good coach who comes with a lot of credibility and a huge, long resume that you would wish and hope that you could get in the building.
Yep.
He's been to the places that you're trying to go.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
And I've heard a lot of you mentioned about how they have former players in the front office. They have former players on the coaching staff. These guys have experience. And off the top of my head, I would be willing to bet that the Commanders are one of the few teams that have 3 guys, offense, defense, head coach, that should or could be head coaches right now in the league, or have been in the past. So yeah, they're in a good spot, and I'm just excited now for it to translate into on the field. And hopefully they'll let all their work do the talking now, because that's all it's left to do.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. But yes, let's close this thing out. Folks, don't forget, check us out. Well, actually, go check out betonline.ag. Go see what the line is. There's something may shift for the Commanders with the hire of Eric Bieniemy, or at least it may adjust over the season, what maybe win totals are being or whatnot. But I've already said I think they're going to make the playoffs this upcoming year. So no pressure, coach. No pressure, coach. All right. But go to betonline.ag. Use our code BLEAV. Get that 50% welcome bonus. So basically, you put in $100, they're going to give you another 50 on top of that. So Joe, go check that out. And also listen to us on all your favorite streaming platforms. We are on TuneIn Radio, SiriusXM, Watch Stadium, SiriusXM. I said that right. Oh yeah, and all your favorite streaming platforms. Yeah, that's right. So that is it, folks. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. I know we're getting now. It's coming up for the what is the good old Senior Bowl already happened. Combine's coming up. That's next. I'm excited for that. So we'll see you guys on the next episode of the Believe in Commander Show. Anthony Armstrong, Brian Murphy. We'll holler at you.
Be good.